You have to give a shit. You have to put in that extra effort to learn how this stuff actually works.
And whether it's social media, whether it's like starting a band, whether it's starting a podcast,
there's actual work. That's going to go into it eventually, and time and money. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of the people who listened to that conversation, I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you out there who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, besides right now, there's beer and soda in the fridge. Your boy is broke. I got no beer, no soda, and I'm very sorry to my guests, but that's okay. It's a Sunday afternoon. Who the fuck needs, like, some may argue that Sunday afternoon's the best time for a beer or soda, but sometimes less is more.
That's okay. I had a Red Bull on my way in.
A Red Bull?
I needed a Red Bull.
All right, so I have a question to ask you about this Red Bull, but before we get into that, everybody who doesn't know my guest today, please make some noise for my friend Jana of First Angel Media. Everybody's happy that you're here.
I like this.
So there's two things. One, I intentionally did not say your last name because I do not know how to properly pronounce
Nobody does, and it's okay. Honestly, like whenever I'm even in line at the doctor's and they kind of look down and go, I'm like, oh, that'll be me. It's Jana Lee Macheca.
Macheca. Wow, that's like a Macheca. Cool.
I have a fun name.
All right. So, to rewind where I want to start this conversation. When we were on our way up here, you have a height thing.
Oh, I hate heights. Oh, God.
Okay. And many people that listen to the podcast know that I'm a big roller coaster enthusiast. So this is very, the yin and yang of life is happening right now between me and you. But the thing that I wanted to comment on was, how do you deal with Red Bull giving you wings?
Well, I just kind of have to keep my feet on the ground. I mean, that's really what it is. I just have to keep my feet on the ground.
Understand. Respectable.
Okay, so completely off the subject of anything music related. I actually, I think all kids have those dreams where they fly.
Sure.
Yeah, I flew that high off the ground. I'm not even kidding. In my dreams, I stayed.
So as a slight float, more of a levitation.
Pretty much.
Not so much a flight, rather
more like floating slightly.
Gotcha. First Angel Media.
Yes.
Tell the people about what it is exactly that you do, if you can even summarize it in one sentence.
We normally explain it as we are a collaboration of a media company, online magazine, and some PR thrown in there.
So you promote independent bands.
Yes.
Artists, musicians, things like that. The occasional visual artist here and there I've seen. I mean, photographers, it is visual arts.
Yes.
Don't get it twisted. We're giving you credit too, you little snappers. Is that an okay snappers. Nickname for photographers?
You know what? I know some people who get all about, don't call us snappers, don't call us photogs. I'm like, dude, we have the camera. They can call us whatever they need to.
I'll just call you an asshole then, buddy.
That's okay. I am almost certain that in my lifetime, at least one or two people have considered me that. So
that's okay.
Everybody has.
Let's talk about your lifetime. I guess not the entire story. There's probably a whole lot to get into.
I'm 42. That's a long story.
Well, let's get into the First Angel Media lifetime then. When did it start? Why did it start?
So the why of it is actually, I'm a widow. I lost my husband in 2012. And as you can imagine, it broke me. I'd always been very much the go to see live shows person, music. And it took me almost 2 years to finally become to a point coming out of that fog where it was okay, so this is life now. Mm-hmm. And this is, I don't have a life. My entire life was wrapped up in being a stay-at-home mom, being a wife. He was a professional chef. He did the job thing. I did the raising of the kids. Between us, we had 5. Yeah. 5. So like the stay-at-home mom portion was necessary.
Sure. Sure. I see that.
And so, it was like this whole discovery of life, this whole discovery of, oh my God, there is nothing that is me anymore. We had a pretty simple life, and he actually used to be a bassist in a punk band.
Cool.
Wounded Hunters. And they played in like Wheeling, Morgantown, all that. And so music was still a part of our life. Like he'd grab up the bass and play, I'd sing, our kids grew up with that. And I was talking to my best friend. I'm like, Shannon, I just don't even know what to do with myself anymore. And she's like, well, there's always been your one thing that you've always been passionate about. Go find music again. And I put it off. And then finally I started to look for shows. And like what I hadn't realized is in the time that I was one of those, I can't get out to your show, I'm too busy, I'm too responsible people, everything in my area had dried up. But I did remember this one band, Ashes to Ashes, that used to be in Pittsburgh. And so I started looking for them, and these guys had broken up. Like everything was off the internet, but Pittsburgh was my closest local music scene. Kind of started to look for things. And then I come from a very small little town, and we had the Pottery Festival.
Okay.
And they always have a live band there, and they had this cover band. And I mean, they did great. And I hadn't seen live music in forever. So I go up to them and I'm like talking to them. And, this one guy, the guitarist, he's like, and kind of like keeps his back to me. And then, the second guitarist is actually speaking to me. And then, I don't know, like later on that day, that guitarist sends me a friend request. It just turns out that the name Social Anxiety for the band was actually like named after him.
Okay.
All right. He is a wonderful person.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. He has like the worst anxiety. So like people coming up and talking. Right. But he, one of the things I had been saying to them at the festival was, I don't even know where to look. So he starts sending me some of his favorite bands in the Pittsburgh area,
super
cover
cool.
bands, Silk 9, all these different bands. And he's like, and check out this venue and check out that. And so through him and Ray, the other guitarist, and their families, wives, friends, everybody there, I kind of started to go find music again. And I found myself in Pittsburgh, and there was actually a band, I hate calling them out like this, Dying Breed. So I go to this show, and I think that I might have been one of the only people actually not there to drink at the bar.
Sure. Hey,
it happens.
It's part of the cycle.
Right. But
it's
these guys, I mean, there was like me and, a table full of people that they knew that had come out, and they put on like a killer show. I mean, you would have thought there were 500 of us in there, and they were a cover band. And I was like, I don't care if it's a cover band. I don't care what kind of music it is. It's about the passion. My playlist goes from Dido to Hollywood Undead to Neverwake to, well, there's this band you ought to check out called Sykes and the New Violence. Okay. And
I'll write that down.
You should check them out. I'm just going to say. But so like, I was like, I don't get it. Why aren't people out here? And so I started to kind of look, and like, I've been like in the music scene since I was like 14, not actually a part of it, but knowing enough people in it to know like what's needed, what's what, seeing how they promoted. This is pre-internet days. I'm old. It happens. And I was like, there's nobody that I'm seeing in Pittsburgh that's really like pushing bands. So I started to think about it. And April 2016, I was like, okay. I sat down with a pen and paper and I wrote out like my ideas on what needed to happen. By, I believe it was June, I had a Facebook page. At the time, I was just sharing events and they'd have like this nice little blurb with them. And like, how badly are we allowed to cuss? Because like,
you could say
zucked me.
You could say whatever the fucking flapjacks you want.
So Facebook fucked me because they changed their algorithm, and suddenly, whenever you shared events, like that nice little blurb no longer went with it, so it didn't help the bands anymore because they couldn't be like, "Oh, look what this company is saying." So I started to write little editorials. And then actually somebody came onto my page and was like, this kind of sucks because you got something decent here, but you blah, blah, blah. And he was being negative about it. And I was like, I took what he said low. I mean, he was right because Facebook doesn't allow you to make it look pretty. It doesn't,
Yeah.
So I started working. Like I grabbed up Bill Damiano. And I was like, okay, you build websites. I need one.
Yeah.
Bill and I have been kind of like, brother, sister, partners in the scene with what we do for years now. Since 2016. So it's been almost 3 years. And he got me this website and I started into that. And I wasn't going to let the Facebook algorithm beat me anymore. So I started to research Facebook and all that insane stuff.
Sure. It gets pretty deep.
It does. And I basically, I worked for I worked for just about 2 years myself. In that time, I kept taking steps. I've been a writer since I was 14. 15. Started writing out articles on the bands, doing reviews on the shows I went to. I took cell phone photos.
Hey.
And I had like these group of friends, Eric from that band that I first met, Jerry Mulligan, you know him. A few others, Winter's Descent, gotta plug that, and Twist of Fate Productions.
JK.
I know for a fact you wear the Twist of Fate production shirt.
I almost wore my Winter's Descent shirt today, but I thought it would have been way too on the nose.
You know what? I actually almost did too. And then it's like, God, I would look like I am a fangirl, but like I would look like such a fangirl.
Yeah. We thought about you.
We did.
We love you.
But these guys, and a few others were just like, no, there is something there. There is something that you have in your cell phone. And I'm like, cell phone? And they pushed me until I got, if you know Jerry, once he gets an idea, he's the most supportive and nudge, this needs done kind of person.
Sure.
And finally, I got like a little Rebel T6 and started learning there. Thank God I ran into Dan GTX because everybody I would say, how you work this thing? They'd be like, I don't know either. I'm like, motherfucker, I've seen your photos. I mean, I'm sorry, I cuss. It's
okay. You're allowed.
But finally I ran into him at a show. It was a Rock for Life benefit, actually, out at Islin. It's one of those field. And this big quiet guy in all black just kind of like, give me that. And he starts showing me, do you realize it's capable of this? Do you realize you can do? And I was so excited that like I wasn't getting these dark photos anymore. And he helped me out so much. He was like my mentor for a while there. Love the man to death. I've gotten to actually officially work with him a few times now. And then I got my big pretty camera. And it's kind of just been an uphill climb from there.
Yeah.
about a year, almost year and a half ago, what I really had wanted for First Angel started to happen. People started to join. It is really hard to tell people, I'm really passionate about this and I've got all this stuff going. Why don't you come, do a lot of work to promote bands you don't know for free or little money? People were just jumping all over that. I'm telling you.
Sure.
But there are people out there that are willing.
Yeah. I mean, in order to do something like what you're doing, you have to actually care about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, most people that start out doing projects or companies like First Angel Media, I think they all have genuine intentions, but it takes a lot of effort, and most of the time it falls through.
Yeah.
And I remember my first experience with you and First Angel Media was just I think it was just honestly like the consistency of it. It wasn't necessarily my first experience, but like seeing like there would be like something that was shared from First Angel Media. I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's another one of these things. Because people start them up. Like you talked about, you didn't see anything like what you were doing, but people start them up all the time, but then they fucking abandon them in like 2.5 months. Yeah. But I just kept seeing stuff from you, and like I kept seeing like you were like, I think you had taken photos at Grey Walker shows, and other people that were affiliated with you had taken photos, and we kept getting tagged and shit, and I kept seeing articles getting shared, and it was just one of those things where I saw the consistency, and then like in the consistency came like, not that I didn't have respect for you and the company beforehand, but it was like a much more like, it became there was like another layer that came on after that consistency, and just like, oh, these are actually a group of people that are going to stick with this. And I think that that's really cool.
No,
and getting to know you too. This isn't the first fucking time we ever talked, you know what I mean? We've talked plenty of times.
Right.
But getting to know you over the past couple of years, it's been really cool seeing, you just grow as a person, grow as a photographer, grow as a promoter, not like a show promoter, but like, like a...
You know what? That was actually something that like I made a mistake on whenever I was first doing it was music promotion. And I did not realize that in this scene, promoter means a completely,
That's okay.
a completely different thing. Bullshit. I wasn't like, aware that actually meant the people who put on the shows.
Yeah, I mean, there's different words for different things that mean a lot of different things. It's much like in music production. The term producer can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Like in the rock world, a producer is, somebody that is maybe helping direct things. Like a director, or he or she is a director of sorts in the studio.
Yeah.
But in the hip hop world, a lot of times a producer is like somebody that's actually composing the beats. They're producing the music.
Oh, okay.
They could also be a producer, but then there's also another producer that could be a studio producer, and like, so that term gets thrown around a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean,
they're all like correct. You're using the word, but it's just your understanding of it. It's almost like it's like like learning the Adobe suite, and you want to do something, but like what you think it's called is not what it's called. Like I want to put an outline on something, and 3 years later, oh, it's called a stroke.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, I would never think to call that a stroke.
Yeah.
That makes no sense, but just learning the terminology.
Yeah, Yeah. And you have to learn other people's concept of the terminology so that you're not thinking that you're having one conversation and having a completely different one. It's kind of crazy. And you're absolutely right. I've actually seen many startups and, I'm going to do this. And it just kind of.
Yeah. I mean, God bless, or whoever bless, Santa bless all those people. 'Tis the season, right? For whatever, all the props in the world to anybody that takes time out of their day to do something like this, because it's fucking ridiculous and crazy that we don't need to be doing this.
No.
I don't make a fucking dime off this show, and I put a lot of money and time and effort into it. I've been doing it for 5 years. I love doing it. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. I get to talk with people like you and everybody else that's going to be coming through here today, and it's fun. I like doing it. And when people are asking me about starting things up, starting a podcast, for example, it's always like, what gear do I need? I'm like, you just need to give a shit, and then you'll figure it out from there. But if you don't give a shit,
no, that's literally
like that's the most important part.
You're absolutely right. You don't start with the gear, because if you don't have that drive to find everything that you're going to need,
and it's not going to be perfect at first. Like if you have a passion for something, utilize your resources. You want to take photos, use your fucking phone. That's fine. Get a little bit of money. Get a cheap Canon. Get a cheap Nikon. Buy something used.
Right.
And if like you're still like into it, like over the years, you can build up to something. I didn't start doing the podcast with a studio. I had one room microphone.
Very nice studio.
I had one room microphone in a studio in like a extra bedroom in like a small apartment I was living in. And then over the years, I got more gear and more things. And just because it was like, it wasn't perfect at first, but I was just doing it. And I was just happy to be doing it.
Yeah.
I knew like with time, it would come together.
It's like amazing because you do, like you said, you start with these tiny little basics and you learn how to work with those. And then you get something that like, as someone who's been in the business for years and years has, and you're like, oh my God, that just made my life so much easier.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's so funny too, because like in like this world of rock and roll, I guess, and like that term could be applied to anybody, whether you're like in like hip hop or R&B or whatever. Like it's still like this rock and roll world of being like a musician. The idea of exercising patience seems absurd, but it is so important.
Yes.
Because things aren't going to happen overnight. And it can be real challenging when you have things like social media showing you all the awesome things that everybody's doing all the time. And it makes you feel like, oh, it's taking me so long. Like it took First Angel Media a couple years to get to a point where you said now it's starting to be what you want it to be.
Yeah.
But that's the only way it ever would have happened.
And to be honest, I almost gave up right before it became what I wanted. Like, I mean, there is a lot of self-doubt in all of this because you start to be like, oh my God, you make no money. You're not doing this because you want to be some rich and famous person, but my God, you at least want your company to be what you want it to be.
Sure. It's like you want to be a resource for other people.
Right.
And you want them to see what you're doing and engage with what's happening. But if they don't engage with it, it's like, why are you taking the time to do this if it's not happening? It happens with me all the time whenever, like, if I have a podcast that goes up and, it gets low numbers or something like that. It's like, fuck, like nobody's watching this.
Yeah.
Or like even worse, then I also get bent out of shape. And maybe this is a topic that we can rely on whenever people ask you for something. Like somebody asks me to come on the show and then I bring them on the show and things go well. And then they don't do anything to help promote the episode once
they
it's
don't
up.
Share?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, like, I'm not here trying to say that I don't have like a community built around the podcast, much like you have a community built around what you're doing. But if I'm doing something for you for free and taking time out of my day to talk to you, if we're friends, if we're strangers, whatever, like, the show has a dollar amount for me to produce. Time is money. The least you can fucking do is share it from your band's goddamn page. It takes you 2 seconds and it's a huge help.
And another reason I don't understand why people don't do that is because no matter what your fan base is, how do the people in their fan base even know that they're doing anything if they don't share what they're doing? I mean, you can be out here doing like, oh, we got this, so we got that, but like if your page is silent, if you're not sharing this shit, nobody knows you're doing it. Share.
Yeah.
I mean, it only helps you too.
It's real. Yeah. I think that it's easy to be lazy in a band unfortunately, it's easy when you have 3, 4, 5 people in a band that all have access to the page, and one of them always assumes that somebody else is the person doing it.
And that
like, you need to have somebody in your band, 1 or 2 people, if not if everybody's posting stuff all the time, it may be a little chaotic. You have to get some sort of you need to wrestle some sort of a structure, but you need to have at least one person at the minimum that's going to be the person that's
right,
making sure that content's going out on a regular basis. And I know that it can also be discouraging because of things you were talking about before with your algorithms and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Especially if you're, trying to use Facebook and or Instagram right now to promote, which, I mean, that's if you're, I don't know, like if you are an independent band of people in your late 20s, 30s, early 40s, your demographic is on Facebook. There's like a whole nother thing where I had somebody in here earlier that, kid, he's not even 21 yet, does hip hop stuff. And he's like, none of my friends use Facebook. Nobody uses it. I don't even have a page. It's like there's a whole different thing, like a whole different world where like everybody he knows is on Snapchat and TikTok, and some people have Instagram. And it's just like, it's like a whole like generation gap. But before I get sidetracked and we even get into all that, because I'm not smart enough or patient enough to have a conversation about TikTok, as much as I understand that, patience is a thing with us. You should be patient. I don't have the patience for that right now, which is funny because they're short videos and it's all ironic. Anyways, rewinding before I go off on some crazy tangent. I think that bands get discouraged from using, Facebook and stuff and posting, because they don't think anybody's going to see it anyways. And that's not necessarily true, because if you're a band and you post something and it's good content, people do see it. People see your stuff more than I think people realize. And I don't think the algorithm is always as bad as people make it out to be. It's just that you're either posting nothing, so nobody's seeing the nothing that you're posting, or what you're posting is just unfortunately uninteresting.
So I do a lot of looking at band pages, especially as much as we do promote their work. And I've seen some things that people are doing. It's obviously wrong.
Okay.
And it's wrong on the way of the algorithm. So what I've started doing is rock your socials. And we actually now have a few articles out there that teach you how to use Facebook. So it's like we're trying to help, because the idea of First Angel isn't just, it isn't just, oh, hey, here's these things that we do. We want to help the music scene.
Sure.
And so, Zuck zucked me, and I wasn't very happy about that.
Well, I wouldn't take it too personally.
But, it was like, this is obviously a platform I have to learn.
Have you scheduled any calls with Facebook managing?
I have not. Facebook knows me probably as Karen, because we all know what Karen stands for. And they'll say, oh, well, this can't happen because, there's this in it. And they get a nice message from me. Please show me exactly where that is, because in this review, you're going to find it's not that. Like, I am a total Facebook. I want to speak to your manager person. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I actually scheduled like a Facebook business call, and Sherry, I talked with her for 3 weeks in a row, and she like showed me like all this crazy stuff with like building like lookalike audiences and duplicate audiences based off of all these crazy things, and like guided me through like boosting campaigns. And we had like calls 3 weeks in a row, going over different things, tweaking things, finding out what works. And, bless her soul, she was a bit of an angel, but there was a lot of questions that I asked her that just, you could tell like either like she just didn't want to go there, or it was just over her head. And
also, for anyone who is interested in learning more about Facebook, there is this wonderful thing called Facebook Blueprint, which is an online guide. And some of the stuff is so simplistic. Like, if you have a page, you have to know this. But other stuff goes a little bit deeper, a little bit more. You learn a lot of things that people don't know, and you can sign up for emails, which will even send you more information. And there is a lot to learn. But the thing is, I always hear, oh, you can't. None of us are rich enough for our ads to reach people and matter. And it's like, dude, I spend like $35 a month in ads, and it's basically all boosts.
Sure.
And I can tell you that you can.
I think that, this like gets into like a really unfortunate conversation of just how entitled some fucking people are because of everything being free on the internet. Like you fucking like the torrent generation and the Spotify generation and the Netflix, like, like I pay this small fee for something and everything's there. It's like, it's maybe not directly connected, but if you want your fucking band or your brand to be a business, you got to act like a fucking business, and you're going to spend a little bit of money. You know what I mean? It's one thing. Okay, well, if you don't want to throw $35 at Facebook to help promote your stuff on Facebook, that's okay. That's fine. You don't have to. But you also have to understand that like that's the likelihood of you being able to thrive on that platform in a way that maybe you want to is going to be a lot less likely unless you happen to do something that's crazy viral. I mean, it's possible for things to happen completely organically, but I don't know. There's so much nuance that goes into it. I just feel like the reality of the situation is that we're on the same platform and forced to play by the same rules as the biggest companies in the world. Yeah. You have the same restrictions on you as Coca-Cola or Nike.
The government even.
Yeah. But the cool thing about it is you have access to the same tools to learn how to use the system that they do too.
Exactly.
And it's free and it's all in there. So if you really do care, instead of complaining about it and wanting another thing to just be handed to you that's not going to happen, put in some extra time, get a little smarter, learn it, embrace it, use it to your advantage, and then take over the world. You could be the next Jeff Bezos.
I will say that like what I try to do in Rock Your Socials in those articles is to break it down to basics. Because what I see a lot of people are like, I just don't know this. And if are almost programmed to be like,
it's like back to when people ask me if they want to start a podcast and like you need to give a shit. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like if you actually want to do well on promoting their social media stuff, like you have to give a shit. You have to put in that extra effort to learn how this stuff actually works.
And whether it's social media, whether it's like starting a band, whether it's starting a podcast,
there's actual work that's going to go into it eventually, and time and money. And I mean, if that's not for you, it's not for you. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can't then complain about things not happening the way that you want them to happen, because that's not the way the world works.
I don't think that any musician would ever imagine that a band would be like, hey, we're going to get together and we're going to practice, but like, we're not going to have a Facebook page. We're not going to have a social page. We're not going to tell anybody who we are. But I'll tell you what, we're going to sell a ton of tickets because we're really good. So whenever we do you can't skip those steps.
Yeah.
You can't.
No.
You have to do this other work that has nothing to do with.
You have to do so much stuff that doesn't involve being in a band now. You have to wear so many hats, even as somebody in your position where it's like, I just want to share events, write articles, and post photos. Yeah. It's like, no, you have to do all this other shit that you didn't ask to do.
Well, yeah. And that, like, going back to, how it's grown. I mean, I was ready to give up because what I wanted was this idea of a collective. I wanted inspired people who loved the scene as much as I do and were willing to give their time and intelligence and passion. And, the very first person that joined up with me was actually Darren. He's one of my writers, and he was one of my friends on social media, and he would write reviews on his own personal page of the shows that he went to. And I'm like, hey, nudge, nudge. I have an area for that if you want it to reach a bigger audience. And finally it took him a while. And now he's covering Descendants of Crom and all these other, everything he goes to gets a review. And he takes his own cell phone photos, and they go into the review. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And he's very proud of what he does. We're very proud of him. Amanda Baker, you know her. She joined up. I did not boo you.
It wasn't me either. I don't know. It skipped. Sorry.
But she joined up. She was just wanting to get into concert photography. And it was just the three of us. And now there are, I believe at last count, there were 15 of us.
Wow.
And we are spreading our wings. I'll let all the other ones fly high. I'll stay to the ground.
Okay.
But but we're doing so much more. Amanda had come to me with an idea, and this is one of those things where you have to have patience, because she came to me with this idea for a segment called Saved by the Scene. And as soon as she started telling me about it, I saw the value in it, and I saw we had to act quickly. And I was like, okay, I don't know how well this is going to be done. But, what we did was we sat down 4 people who have various issues, mental health wise, and talked about literally how we were saved by the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, my work with the music scene filled the place where, that emptiness that I had after my husband died, whenever I wasn't certain I could keep going forward. Nick Music, of all things, most wonderful last name in the world to have, of Scarlet Sky, and his battle with PTSD and how music helped him. We had most of the members of Oceans to Ash, and just how they've had to rely on each other through hard times. Johnny DiCarlo, Neverwake, he came on, they were on tour, and he came on video to talk about his anxiety. They even have an entire music video around the things that kind of attack them in their everyday lives, and how they were, breaking free of that. So that first one was kind of rushed. It was kind of okay, we want to do this. We want to start this. And the first time is never the easiest, but we'll grow from there.
Yeah.
And along with it was a benefit. Twist of Fate Productions put it together, and we had some wonderful bands come in, and we raised a lot of money for a place called People's Oakland. And now we just released one this last Friday. It's the second installment. The benefit that is running with it is called Depression, the Nightmare Before Christmas. Saved by the Scene Volume 2 is about depression. And again, we took 4 individuals, and this one I feel we really kind of knocked it out of the park on, because we kept it simple. Fernando de la Cruz, if you don't know him, Ambraic Creations, look the man up. He does music videos, does all kinds of videos. He's awesome. And his company and First Angel, he works with us in First Angel, and his company and mine, we do these, there's no monetary value in them, but, mental health is a stigma that shouldn't be. And
sure.
Music is, my God, dementia patients can be triggered back to memories by music. People who feel lost and lonely, there is a song out there. Someone has been through this crap before. They've gone there, done that, And it gives you kind of a, wow, someone understands whenever you can't even get the words out yourself to tell someone how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. And music heals. And that's kind of the whole basis behind these. And we're going to keep doing 2 a year. And we're going to keep doing the benefits. This next benefit will also go to People's Oakland. It's kind of our go-to charity after we found out about them, because it's a nonprofit and they do everything. They don't just like, oh, okay, we'll give you some meds, or okay, we'll give you some, counseling. They help with like getting people who are coming out of a really bad time or an institution and have like lost their lives. They help them get jobs. They help them find apartments, babysitting for them. Like the people, they're an all-inclusive company. And so that's the kind of thing that we want to support with this. We're hoping in the future to do more with it. We're kind of talking, let's just say, look for a lot to go in October of
That's cool.
2020.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping to make that a product of its own, even though it's under the First Angel umbrella. It's, it's something like, it has its own life.
Totally. The thing that's really cool about, what you're doing with First Angel Media and
Fam.
Yeah, with FAM, the thing that's really cool about the FAM is, you have this group of people together now that understand that there's more to the scene than their band or their thing that they do. Mm-hmm. And I think it can be really hard for some people to understand that. Honestly, it's equivalent to like doing like stuff in your community. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I've walked through my neighborhood and just picked up trash because it's just like, well, it's like I walk through here all the time and it kind of bums me out when I see garbage laying around.
Yeah.
Something should happen about that.
But I remember that and I thought that was wonderful to have done.
And it's like, well, we could clean it up, right? Like I could just fucking do this.
Right.
And it wasn't that much effort. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool. Now the street's, and that's the way that a lot of people are, or way I see a lot of things with the local music scenes, not just Pittsburgh, anywhere. You just have people that want to have like really, really nice houses, but they don't want to do anything to make the neighborhood better.
Yeah.
And it's like, who wants like a super nice house in a shitty neighborhood? It's like, I want to be like, sure, I want to have awesome neighbors, but I want the fucking neighborhood to be nice. I want to have like a cool park that we could go down to and like hang out and, take the kids or the dogs and all that shit. Like I want it to be a cool neighborhood for everybody. And people think too much just about like their own backyard and then complain about the whole neighborhood as a whole. That's the local music scene, or a negative aspect of it.
It's a negative of it.
It's like everybody gets together for those block parties once a year.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like that could happen more frequently.
What surprises me about and saddens me about the Pittsburgh music scene is that they don't know what they have. It's almost like a person in a really nice house. Like I'd walk into and be like, I would love to live here. And they're like, yeah, but
it's real easy to, people take it for granted.
And yet, at last count, we've tried this. Many people have. The last estimated count was 600 active bands in the Pittsburgh music scene. That's kind of outrageous.
Sure.
Also, I mean, what was it like this summer? The newspaper put out like, oh my God, do we have too many venues?
I mean, yeah.
This is a
yes and no.
Have.
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends. I feel like the problem isn't so much the venues. The problem is some bands playing too much and other bands not playing enough.
And I'm just like, we have 600 bands. We have enough venues that they have to really consider, is it an issue?
Well, this is the thing. if you want to do well in Pittsburgh, I'm not talking about the fucking world. If you want to do well in Pittsburgh, you could do it easily. Like, I'm a fucking idiot and my bands are fine.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. You know, it's like I play and I have, it's time's not even an issue. Like I do so much shit that I hardly put any time into anything. I'm just like scrambling with each thing, but also like the weight of all these projects doesn't fall on my shoulders. Like, you know, I'm in bands with great people that also do a lot to help facilitate things. But
that's important.
If you want to play shows on a regular basis, build a fan base, you could do that really easily in Pittsburgh. There's more than enough venues that cater to all different styles of music, with the exception of hip hop right now. Hip hop's a little weird in Pittsburgh. It has been for about a decade, but that's a whole nother conversation. But even still, there's plenty of people that are in the hip hop scene that have done well. And some of our biggest cultural exports in the pop mainstream have been hip hop artists from Pittsburgh. So
it's really easy to look around and only see your backyard.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you have fences up, then you're not seeing what everybody else is doing. And yeah, you're pissed off because you have crabgrass. Well, guess what? Nobody else has it because they're out there pulling it and resodding.
Yeah.
And all you see is your crabgrass. And you're like, oh my God, this is such a, it's not happening everywhere. You know, I'm not saying everybody's going to have like instant success and everybody's going to have.
Well, we were already talking about that. It takes some time. You got to put in the work. You have to be patient. And I mean, you have to be like, okay. Like, you don't have to be great. You have to be okay. Because like there's people will see through your bullshit. Like if you have great music, but you're shitty people, nobody's going to like you. If you have shitty music, but you're great people, you'll probably be fine. Like people just want
this is
like fun community stuff. And then like all the time, like, you know, I've seen plenty of bands in my day that like, okay, like I don't like this music, but they're nice people. They're having a good time. And if they stick at this, they'll figure it out. Like, not only do you have to have patience for yourself and your projects, you have to have patience for the people around you and understand that if they're passionate about what they're doing, but they're not quite there yet, help them out. Still put them on shows. Help them get other things and encourage them. Don't be somebody that's just like, oh, well, that band kind of sucks, but so I don't want to be around them. Like, if they're cool, they're cool. If they're dicks, get them out of here. We don't need them.
Okay.
But if they're cool, help them.
On that note, don't be a dick and then expect everyone's going to be kind to you. And if you're not ever out there showing support, don't ask why no one supports your band.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that helps a lot too.
And you know, the funny thing is that,
but the thing is, you don't even have to leave your house to show support.
Right. It doesn't. So many people think that translates to like a show. It doesn't. I know people who are super busy and can't get to shows, but if you go on their personal timeline, they're shouting out, this person's doing this, that person's doing this. Hey, go give my buddies over here. Like, it's literally a share button away to support somebody. And if you can't give support and you can't be nice, you know, kindness is not a limited thing. It costs nothing. It actually helps you feel good. It makes others feel good. And guess what? There's as much of it as you want to give. So you can be as broke as us and still be kind and supportive.
Yeah.
But
totally. But again, it goes back to like that, how much do you really care?
Always.
Like, it's, if you really give a shit, is this something that you really have to talk about?
And it will always come back to how much of your heart is in this, how much of your passion is in this. I've been doing this for 3 years, and I can tell you that 3 years ago, I never in my life thought that I would have to know the things I do the things I do. But 3 years ago, I never would have thought that I would have the people in my life that I have. Because whenever you find people that share your passion And I can literally say this at First Angel. You know, it's fam to us. And literally, every single one of us is a family member. Actually, the joke is that because Patrick and I always mess up his last name whenever I say it, McAlvery. I'm going to try it. I think I got it right.
What's your name? Macheca.
Macheca. Of a 9-Stitch Method. He will forgive me because he's like my brother, so he totally will. But he's like my partner in this. It's my company, but if ever there was one person like right there in the battlefield with me, you know, we got this, trading things back and forth. It's him. And so we joke around. Everybody calls us like mom and dad. So there's mom and dad, but all the kids have chores too. So yeah, I mean, but that's, you know, that's like one of the things that it matters so much to me, not just because of the love and support that like I get from them, but I almost broke down in tears whenever we were doing this last Saved by the Scene, because Fernando, who is part of our team, you know, part of our family, he was talking about all the issues that he had. And he says, First Angel Media found me, and now I know what it's like to have friends and people who love and support you. And like, oh my God, I'm just sitting there. I have a son about his age, and I feel like Fernando's kind of like my adopted kid. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, don't cry. Because if you cry, he's going to stop this. And this is beautiful. Don't you dare cry. Yeah. I mean, but that's like, you know, you're only remembered by the things in this world that you share, whether it's experiences, talent, whatever it is. And to know that I have created something and been able to share something, not just that shares my passion of music, but that has touched the people that way that I love. That's like, I could die happy. You know, I've created something. It's not just the children I've created.
You have a lot more work to do, my friend. So you
Oh, if I die before the end of 2020, I'm telling you right now, everybody at First Angel is having a seance and bringing my ass back because there's just too much going on next year for them to want to. They're going to be like, nah. This isn't allowed.
100%.
They'll piece me back together.
Yeah. So, you know, we've talked some positives. We've talked some negatives, talked what you've learned, how you've grown, the friends that you've made along the way, all of these things. What else do you think, besides, you know, having better social media presence, better band bios, better photography, you know, like what, from your outsider perspective looking in, is there anything else that you feel gets really overlooked in terms of, you know, underground bands and the way that they're marketing themselves or telling their story to people?
Okay, so I only know this in Pittsburgh, but actually it's something that like, it almost drives me nuts. I created a company to be based in Pittsburgh, and the idea was never to keep it in Pittsburgh. It's always going to be here. It's always going to focus here. But again, with the walls, if you put up walls and you don't let anyone in, then you're also not letting anyone out. So we get bands from France, Russia. We get bands from all over that come to us and they're like, oh my God, we see what you're doing. Please, can you feature us? Can you use our video? Can you? And it's like, they are so willing to put themselves forward. And then someone that I know in a band in Pittsburgh, I'll reach out to and be like, hey, you just released a video. 50% of the time, they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, I'd like to feature it. We'll get back to you on that. And it's like this mindset that Pittsburgh music seems to have, that if it's in Pittsburgh, it's not enough. And I would like to just take a moment and tell bands that even those little startups that we were talking about before, the ones that go away after a few months, I don't care. I don't care how small it is. I don't care if it's just your friend's thing. I don't care if it's well produced. I don't care if it's like almost a piece of crap. Mm-hmm. It's worth it, always, because you're putting yourself out there. You're getting yourself more publicity. You're never going to find a time it's not worth it. And I wish that I could shake people and be like,
it's really funny to have that mentality when 95% of the shows that you play are in Pittsburgh. So,
do you hear this?
Like,
do you hear this?
You know, it's like, okay, you have a local blog that has, you know, a few thousand people that makes posts that engaged, you know, probably to the tens of thousands of people through boosts. A lot of people that are local, they're probably targeting this shit to, like, you know, Pittsburgh, hard rock, heavy metal, you know, people that are doing the stuff that you're doing. All you got to do is send her a fucking link. It takes 2 seconds. What do you think? Like, why not? That's like whenever you hit me up about like featuring a Sykes video. I think you may have done a Greywalker video too at some point. I was just like, yeah. Here you go. You want to cross post it? Here, we'll put you on the thing.
You taught me the cross posting, and I can't tell you how many people are afraid of that. I'm sorry.
I mean, I get it. Okay, it's like, yeah, we have access now that, like, you know, there's like this like little backdoor thing, but you could turn it off afterwards.
And not only that, like, we can't take over your site. We're not admins.
Yeah,
we're allowed. You give Facebook that little permission to be like, okay, yeah, I wouldn't work with these people. And then you have to go give us permission on what you're allowed to
listen, at this point, listen, it's honestly like you can lead a horse to water, right?
Yeah.
And it ultimately becomes like this is like some real like alpha male type shit to say, but like it's like survival of the fittest, honestly. Like if you where the resources are out there, the tricks are out there. If you want to go rogue and try to do this in your own way, Santa bless you. But I don't know. I feel like you probably deal with more people that are more than happy to work with you over people that are going to be grump butts.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, we've dealt with plenty of grump butts through the years in various projects I've been in, and I don't know. And it's at a point now where like there's certain bands where like we'll ask them to play shows and we know they're never going to say yes, but it's almost like we're trolling them at this point, just to like almost be like, hey, we're still doing stuff and we still want you to be a part of this, but you could keep being grumpy. But hey, we'll keep asking.
I mean, and if you look at the bands that we work with, and that's like one of the things that, you know, some of these smaller bands will sit there and be like, well, I don't know about this cross post thing because I don't want to give you access to my page. And I'm like, dude, it doesn't. And like, I get it. But at the same time, I don't like being negative, but at the same time, I'm sitting there like wanting to bang my head up against a wall because I'm thinking, okay,
we're just trying to get more views on your page.
I have worked with bands like Sykes and the New Violence. We've done the cross post. I have done it with Greywalker. I have done it with Neverwake. I have done it with a band out of Michigan called Heartsick Metal. They're coming in January. Please, God, you need to check this band out.
I think Greywalker's playing with them. I think they're like our Midwest BFFs or something.
And but like, you know, I'm going to tell you right now, if we were doing something bad to these pages,
it would have happened by now.
We've been doing this for like a little over a year now.
Like, what do you think? What do you think's gonna happen? I don't know. I get it. I think
I do, but it's like you can either be worried to the point of not getting it done and not getting that extra promotion, or you can have a little faith that you're not the first one to do it.
Well, this is the other thing too, is like, if somebody reaches out to you for help and then they don't want to, take advantage of the help that you're offering, there's plenty of other bands out there. It's not like you're struggling for content.
It's not. I mean,
or if like you're reaching out to people and what you're doing isn't their thing, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks if it's somebody that maybe you have a lot of faith in or you want to promote, but if they don't want your help, okay, well, there's plenty of other people out there. You're not the only fucking band on the planet or in the city or even in your neighborhood.
We've had to start telling bands that we want to work with more that if they have, because, part of this is PR, because we do understand that so many bands out there don't have the money to go paying, a couple $100 to a PR company with the hope of results later. And then you're like tied into a contract. And some bands just need it for this release. They just need, a nice push. And so we've started telling bands that we want to work with and that want to work with us on that. When you're going to be releasing your video, about when. Give us a heads up a few months in advance, because our features are oftentimes scheduled out at least 6 weeks. And if somebody screws us, and it's not even intentional. Sometimes, people, we all have lives outside of the music scene and things happen. And if we get screwed up because somebody didn't get their cross post finished up in time, which it takes 3 seconds, it's not that hard. Then,
but you have to do. Oh, I'm yawning now. Ugh, I got 2 hours of sleep. I apologize, my
somebody else needs a Red Bull.
I don't fuck with that stuff. I really don't.
I don't normally, but I don't know how it happened. I ran out of coffee. You can't set up
the cross posting from the mobile device, so that could be a night.
A lot of people don't
fucking have computers or laptops anymore.
That's kind of, sometimes we run into that. Like, they just are not at their computer and then they forget.
Yeah.
But like, if they do that, but they have every intention of working with us, that's not a big deal, because I reach out to the next person in line. I'm like, okay, guess what? You're up to bat. We've already had this written out. It's already ready for you. You're going this week. Okay, now you'll go that week. But we do like to try to schedule it. If someone's releasing something, say Grey Walker, I believe, was released on a Monday, and then we ran it that Friday, it kind of picks up like where it may start to go down. We do like to work with the bands to try to give them an immediate boost to these things.
Sure.
Because that just makes sense. But we also need bands to work with us, because, we rely on them in the way of, we have this time slot to fill.
It's another thing that's really funny is putting all this time into writing a song, all the time into recording a song, all the time into hiring somebody to film a video, editing it, all the patience to get all the time and effort and patience to get that done. And then you can't take 5 minutes out of your day to find a computer to send somebody a fucking link or set up your cross post. Like,
libraries exist.
Like dropping the ball on that very last minute.
Yeah.
But that's something that happens, like, unfortunately, all the time.
Yeah.
Just that last, like, but it's the thing. It's like, it's so much. It's like, there's so many bands that put in so much hard work, so much effort, and so much content. And then it just
sits there.
Yeah, it finally gets on Spotify and then they don't tell anybody about it. It's like, whoa. I mean, I'm guilty of it just as much as anybody else. It's happened.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it too is like, well, I don't know what to do from here, and I don't know who to ask. And
I get that. I do. I mean, it's kind of difficult. We're morphing into more than what we do now to give people better opportunities because, like we were talking about interesting content. Well, it's kind of hard to come up with that on your own every single time that you need to make a post.
Yeah,
or
I think that's another problem now with the way social media is very much like you should probably be posting every millisecond.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are not relevant and you're losing.
It takes 1 week and you're off people's radar.
Yeah, but I fully believe that, less is more. And if you have nothing important to say, like you're just going to annoy people coming up with bullshit posting stuff and from your page that has nothing to do with anything. And it's like people like the Grey Walker page because we're a metal band and we have fun. They've seen us come play that. And so if we're posting something, it better be metal. It better be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And otherwise it gets ignored.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to stick
and I've
in
seen
with
it
your
happen.
thing.
It's like we just have to stay in that lane of what we are and knowing what we are and being comfortable with that.
And like we have,
but it doesn't mean, but we don't post every day. That's what's happening.
And we have like professional and personal, everything that we do, like you can't get a team of 15 passionate people and not show that in your work. So actually we've decided that it's just kind of time to take that to another level. We don't want to be just these nameless people anymore. We're going to be there's actually going to be 5 video series coming out.
Super cool.
Next year. We will have one, which is the Green Room. Our writer Matthew is going to be heading that up, and we're going to find a nice, decently quiet space at these shows. Interview the bands as they're coming off stage,
Yeah.
Just some quick, like he always says he nerds out with bands, and he does, but that's the person that you want to, be interviewing them. We have a one coming up. It's called Holy Grounds, and it'll be held at Templars, which is our little tiny soon-to-be venue. And we're, it's an old church, and we're going to do it over coffee. And the idea there is, just like some goofy questions leading into some actual questions, and then an acoustic set. I've been working on an idea for a while with Justin of Neverwake and Jason of Silence Follows, the Crucible Project, because they are I'm starting to notice he only boos the people he really likes. But so we're, they are huge foodies. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to have them cooking in the kitchen and bringing different artists and doing, like almost a Food Network show. And
okay.
We've got
that's fun.
We've got all of these. We have one still in the planning stages. It'll be released later on in the year, but it's a day in the life of
cool,
where one of our guys, Josh, of Creatures and Creep Rods.
Oh no, that fucking guy! Oh, the worst.
He and Amber are actually,
both of them. Ugh. No.
They're actually like Josh has been part of the First Angel team, and Amber's starting to come on.
Cool.
First Angel is just going out there and collecting people.
No,
I like it.
Yeah, no, I like it.
But it's a team effort,
All of those people that I know, I like a lot. I don't know all of them, but all the ones I do know, I do like.
And through Patrick, 9 Stitch Method, his band is actually signed to Brutal Business. And we're starting to work a little bit more with Brutal Business, and it gives, we're not just in the metal stuff because they've got all these rap artists and everything else over there. So, we're able to bring in some of what they do. Currently, Brutal Business and First Angel Media are trying to, we're doing some benefits for this a lovely little baby girl who was just born in October and immediately had to have heart surgery. It's going to be something that affects her for life.
Yikes.
So I believe, God, I hope I have this date right, but we have one happening at the Subalpine on December 20th.
Okay.
Brutal Business also has some stuff happening, so we've
I'm not
come
100% sure if this will be up before the 20th.
I know,
unfortunately.
I know. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, because they'll always need it.
Much like the video premieres, these are usually recorded.
That's okay, because they'll always need it.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to help out on how to help out this little baby,
totally.
And there may be some other things in the works between First Angel Media.
It sounds like there's already too much, but that's awesome.
But that's why there's 15 of us.
Yeah.
Because what we've done is we sat down at one of our monthly meetings and I said, okay, so this was your idea. This is your baby. Who has the talent and time to help him? This was yours, and we've broken it off. So while I have my fingers in all of it, I kind of like you were saying with your bands, it's not just my burden to bear. Mm-hmm. I keep it going. I understand the marketing. I understand like where it needs to go to fit into the branding, all of that stuff. But like, these are amazing people who don't actually need me to micromanage or overly guide. Raina Pelli, awesome photographer. And she joined up with us and immediately was like, I miss lyrics. So now we have a lyrics feature and she heads that.
That's fun.
And
cool.
So the more people that we gather up, the more we find we're capable of doing, as long as we're willing to give over the time for it. And some of it isn't going to be like, hugely high production value, but then again, neither was everything on MTV.
I think that there's something to be said about just real people doing honest work over, something that's really overproduced, and it just feels almost exclusive in a way.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm not in a Hollywood studio or anything like that, but there's part of me sometimes when I look at the podcast and I feel like a sellout. It's beautiful. It's nice. I think it looks really good, but it's also very much it's still DIY. Trust me. You can check my bank statements. This is very much there's nothing cool happening. You've never heard me say one goddamn thing about a sponsor ever on this show, but it still feels like, I don't know, I have an extra sort of I don't want to use the term privilege, but I guess I'm just lucky that I've been able to put in the time to put myself in a position that I have something like this.
And it's awesome. It is. And
I guess stuff still goes wrong. I have cables that aren't working, microphones go off.
You have to keep going.
Gear doesn't work. Yeah, there's all sorts of trouble
thing
that happens. And I do my best. People won't even notice that I'm getting up. All that's going to be edited out. Nobody will even know.
I gave it away.
This will get edited out too. Don't worry. I've gotten good at that.
Oh God, the editing portion of podcasts.
I don't do a whole lot, but I just trim it down enough just to keep it.
Yeah. Just
to keep it flowing.
Yeah, I could see that. I just really, it's professional DIY. The joke, kind of a running joke that we have in First Angel is none of us know that what the hell we're doing, but we're never going to show that whenever it comes out.
Sure.
All of us are scrambling, but what's the best way? Okay, but my friends joke I'm the Facebook guru and people come to me about marketing, but God knows I'm not the end all be all on any of that. I've just spent the time researching.
You could get really nuanced. Totally.
Yeah.
But also, You could just focus on making good content, doing it as consistently as possible, and getting you and your team to share it. Because there's only so much control you can have over what the rest of the world's going to do with your stuff.
Well, like you were saying about the numbers. I mean, I believe this last week's numbers were, we reached 24,000 people that week on Facebook. And our numbers on the website are climbing up into the 250,000s per month. And like a little under half of that is return. But like, okay, the website, I don't advertise.
Sure.
You know, so this is people, this is their tags. The tags are important. Tags, people sharing, people coming onto our site, sharing the article from the site. You know, the boosts only make up about like, because I boost about one thing a week. And it's those features. It's those video features.
Yeah.
And the rest of them, I throw them into groups and this, that, the other thing. And like, that only makes up about 5,000 to 6,000 of those numbers. And if you break it down, like, yeah, we do memes. And God, memes are like the fastest and easiest way to get reach. They're good advertising for your page, because whenever people share them, the name goes and then they go back to see what else is there. Yeah. But like, memes don't matter. What matters is whenever we put out an article and it reaches over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
That's what matters. Whenever we can go on the site and see, hey, you know, the article views are over 100. You know, I mean, I only ever expect a 10% return on anything that we put out. I put it into 10 groups. I'm going to get one group's worth of people checking it out. Mm-hmm. You know, out of that 1,000 people, 100 people will have fully read the article. And that's okay.
That's not nothing.
That's not nothing.
Especially for the niche ass demographic that we're targeting.
Yeah.
It's like, how often do 100 people come out to a local show?
Right.
You know?
And more than likely, we find that these are people that don't know. Trade secret. People who know your band don't read your articles.
Sure.
Who would have known? The people who know you and love you will share the shit out of that. Don't ask them to read it. Don't ask them to look at it. And so normally out of that 100 people, 90 have never heard of your band. The intro just looked cool, or the photo looked cool, or they were just looking for new music.
Totally.
So it's like, you know, it's really great stuff. And I enjoy working with, you know, all these different people. There are so many people that we work with and are in association with, and we will never put on more than our benefit shows. But I mean, I'm trying to do have you heard of Launch Music Conference?
I have heard of that.
Okay, so I encourage, number one, everybody in the industry should go up there. So it's kind of like a gathering of minds, and you can go in and sit in on conferences and learn about these various things. And since April is whenever I consider the first Angel Media anniversary to be. It's whenever it was created. It's whenever I sat down with it. And April has a lot of meaning to me. It's the month my husband was born, the month he died. Kind of like, you know, each year in April, I grow a new chapter in my life. And so we want to start having mini music conferences in Aprils to celebrate our, everybody else does shows, and that's great.
Yeah.
It really is. But like, that's not what we're about. We don't put shows on.
No, there's plenty of enough other people doing that.
Right. And we do like to feature as many people in as many ways and as much of the music community as possible. And I kind of feel like sometimes maybe one of the reasons that people don't reach out to various smaller, things going on is because they don't know about them. So kind of a chance to give them, I think it's Clamage, Daniel Clamage. Anybody who's seen all those really cool like wood burning boxes and such, he does those.
Yeah, he gave us a stack of Grey Walker coasters at the show.
Isn't he awesome? Like he just loves music. And it's like a side note that he can get a little something back while giving. I mean, that's merchandise that like a lot of bands are not going to have, especially not if you happen to go outside of our area. I can promise you nobody has them because I believe it was Reign of Z had one whenever I was in Indiana covering the Rise of the Loser Festival. And people were stopping. They're like, where did they find this? So we're unique. And Pittsburgh is unique.
It is.
I mean, I've heard people complain that, there is no Pittsburgh sound. That's not a bad thing.
Sure. Yeah.
It just means that there's so much talent and originality that nobody can pin us down.
Sure.
There is one thing in Pittsburgh that is a mutually understood Pittsburgh only thing. And that happens to actually be having venues with like some of the best freaking food ever.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I really like that. I really like that. I am not a skinny mini. I enjoy my food. I'm not gonna lie.
So let's wrap up this conversation on the talk of food, because like we've been going now. We got an hour 23 on the board.
Oh, I hope that you're definitely going to edit this down.
We got an hour 23 on the board. It's about lunchtime right now. So I'm getting a little hungry. I'm thinking about food.
There's a restaurant downstairs.
Yeah. Penn Brewery's fantastic. Good food. Yeah. Shout outs to Penn Brewery, who does not sponsor my fucking show and probably should. It's fine. It's fine. Is there something hanging from me? Oh, that's this cord. I thought I had like a weird hair hanging from my face. I was like, what the fuck is that? Anyways, venues, food. If you had to do one, if every other venue in Pittsburgh would stop having food, but you got to keep one.
Smalls.
Smalls? You'd keep Smalls?
I would keep Smalls.
Okay.
I love their stuff there. And they've got like really big serving portions. But like, God.
I'd have to go with the Smiling Moose, but
really?
Yeah.
You know what? They do have really good food. I just like it that Smalls, like, I don't have to go downstairs.
Sure.
Of course, I guess though that if you're downstairs, you have to go upstairs to get it. They need a delivery elevator service or something.
The Mr. Small's Kitchen is really good though.
It is.
My personal favorite is the Moose, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Cativo has the most underrated pizza in Pittsburgh, period.
I absolutely agree. And honestly, their steak salad is like...
Cativo has killer food. And a lot of people don't know that. People know about Smalls. People know about the Moose, obviously. Cativo is a little bit of an underdog right now when it comes to the food, but it's great.
Somebody told me about their pizza and like...
It was probably me.
Oh my God. It may have been. I mean, I had to try it. That is like some killer stuff.
Yeah. Really good food.
I mean, we're actually kind of blessed in that because whenever I go down to a Morgantown show, the first time I ever went down was actually one of their biggest venues, which is 123 Pleasant Street. Mm-hmm. And I went down there and I asked my friend Jeffrey, I was like, so like, what kind of food do they have there? And he's like, there's a Sheets around the corner. And I'm like,
yep.
Okay, I can deal with this.
Yeah. It's an abnormal thing. It definitely is, but it's cool.
It's a very cool.
I feel like it makes a lot of sense to keep people in the space and give people that extra reason to come out.
Yes, and I mean,
especially when you're dealing with people that are like going out to your show is only one part of their night. Like they're going to have a night out and they want to be able to maybe get a couple drinks, get some food, see a band. And if you can get them to do all of that in one building, especially in a place like Millvale that, has some spots, but it's like
you'd have to almost leave that area of the city to get something. And I mean, really, that's because every one of them, if you're at Smalls or you're at the Smiling Moose, you have a place to kind of go and have a little quiet while you sit down and eat too.
Yeah.
But Cativo, it's still kind of removed from the major portion of the noise. You've got the booths. I mean, they make it comfortable. And honestly, like some of the best wings I have ever had is Good Times Bar.
Another really cool thing, and I want to end on this because we could probably keep talking for another hour and a half, to be completely honest.
I think we could be here for a while.
Yes. I will say one thing that's really cool about having that food element, like at the Moose, that place has like a community and like a scene of people that like go there even on days where there aren't shows. Cause it's like, well, I could go in there, get a beer, get a plate of food, and I'm probably going to run into one or two other people from the scene in there on any given night. So it's cool to have a little spot like that where it's like if you're in the area and you're a little hungry, you could still like be a part of like this community. It
that
exists
entire
outside
strip
of exists outside of the shows.
Yeah. I mean, they have quite a few shows that can happen there. You've got all these places to eat. You have the Moose where you can just be right there or just go grab a beer or food at me. Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's a lot.
It's not something to take for granted.
Right. And too much in Pittsburgh is taken for granted.
Oh, totally.
Not just the kitchens, the bands, the media people, the everything, just because it's Pittsburgh. I mean, come on, man.
All we can do is just keep on fighting the good fight. That's all we could do. We can't control how other people choose to or choose not to interact with what we're doing.
But we can remind them that Pittsburgh music is kind of like freaking awesome.
Yeah. Super awesome. And you're super awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's been really cool getting to talk with you. Again, it's always the problem with having friends on the podcast because it's like, you blink your eyes and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been 4 hours.
Completely understand.
Yeah. And I wish that I had a platform that I could release 3-hour episodes, but I'm just not there yet. I'm pushing it on the hour episodes. I feel like most people tap out around 45 according to the numbers. So
I have watched all the way through whenever I
appreciate it because you have that patience we were talking about.
I do.
And speaking of that, I am being very impatient. I am hungry. I got another episode in an hour and a half. Too. These cameras got to charge. We got to do our fucking thing.
Yes.
So with that being said, and that is all, folks. Thanks so much for listening. One more time, Jana, Lee, Macheca, First Angel Media. Thank you.
Thank you.
Check out First Angel Media. What's the website? What's the social media?
It is First Angel Media all the way around. Website, www. And all of the nice little hashtags and Twitter things and Instagram-y things. It's always First Angel Media.
Hell yes. And
I made it easy.
You're here, so you obviously know where to find me. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat. 2019, maybe. Maybe it's 2020. I'm not too sure. I have no idea. It's 2020 or 2019
we're in a time
now.
loop. Yeah, we're
kind
of in a time loop right now.
It's like the end of the year, so who knows? But it'll be up when it's up.
I'm okay.
Hopefully the world is still here. And that's it. Woo! Woo! Thanks for listening. Fade this shit out. We did it.